As far as the Parsi community is concerned, most Indians get roughly divided into three categories. One is the people from rural India who don't know who we are, or probably they never even heard of us. Number two are the people who know about Parsis through Bollywood, where some comedian is playing the Are Dikra caricature. And number three are the people who think of Parsis as jovial, food, wine and music loving, sometimes crazy, mostly honest. People who try to live their lives by practicing good thoughts, good words and good deeds. But that is until you sit down with a bunch of Bawas and have a drink with them, and the number of times that you will hear MCBC probably might make a garage mechanic blush. I went through a patch in my life where I actually thought my name was Gandu. But all of this, it's a very surface level understanding of Parsis. But don't worry, WAC has got your back. And today I'm going to tell you some pretty funky things about my community, the Parsis. Like our connection with baby Jesus, or our hand in the first riots in Bombay. Or stop telling your Bawa friends that you want to come over for dhansak, because dhansak is the food that we cook when we are mourning. There are a lot of other yummier dishes that you can get your friends to cook.
Hi guys, my name is Cyrus Sahukar.
My name is Zerxes.
Hi, this is Nauheed Cyrusi.
I'm Scherezade Shroff.
My name is Cyrus.
Hi, this is Shreyas for Pardiwalla.
My name is Frisia, this is WAC, and today me and my Bawa friends invite you to our world.
I am going to take you way back in time, and it's going to be an absolute fun ride. So buckle up. Now, did you know that when the Parsis came to India, we were in fact refugees running away from the violence of the Muslim invaders in Persia? In fact, the word Parsi is derived from a language which was spoken in Persia and Iran, Parsi. Now, the legend has it that when we Parsis reached the soils of Gujarat, the King Jadhav Rana asked us why should he allow us to stick around here. Well, the high priest asked for a glass of milk and some sugar, and he took a teaspoon of the sugar and dissolved it in the milk and said, just like the milk is sweetened without displacing it, we will do just that to your motherland. And I'm sure you agree that we've done just that. Whether it is Sam Manekshaw, our first field marshal, or JRD Tata, or just the regular teenager in every Parsi household, all we have is tons of love and gratitude for our India.
There are 4 to 5 Parsi families that I'm sure you have heard of because they've been very instrumental in India's economic journey. The Tatas, the Godrejes, the Wadias, the Poonawallas, and the super rich but low profile Shapurji Polanji Mistry family. These families, along with other families' charitable trusts, have been responsible for opening so many hospitals, schools, educational institutes, and orphanages around India. Any guided tour of South Bombay will tell you that a lot of old Bombay's buildings were built by the Parsi community. Jahangir Art Gallery, Horniman Circle, Taj Mahal Hotel and Crawford Market, which today is known as Manish Market. Although Crawford and Manish, they really didn't have anything to do with building it. This gentleman did. Kawasji Jahangir. He was so charitable with his money that people started calling him Kawasji Jahangir Ready Money. And even till today, his family has kept the Ready Money surname. But all of this charity and financial well-being has its roots in a rather dark history. People often believe that the British favored the Parsis because they could speak English, but that is not entirely true.
By the time the British took over, we were still sort of refugees, still trying to start and make lives for ourselves. Nothing had really improved. And remember the Parsis and the Iranis, let's call them one group, Paranis, well, we are all hot-headed, a little prone to anger, sentimental, emotional, high-strung. These are words that we have to accept are sort of true. So you won't believe the first riots happened because of the Parsis. Well, not exactly because of the Parsis, it's all got to do with dogs. It's called the dog riot. I'll explain. You see, amongst Parsis, a very simple phenomenon. All Parsis will go to heaven. It's a guarantee. I've checked the MOU. It's there in black and white, 100% guarantee. But when you die, your soul has to go to a waiting area where you have to wait for your companion who is a dog. The dog will guide the soul to heaven. Without him, you can't go. So you need him. He works like a sort of a taxi service for you. He ferries you there. So very important bond between dog and soul of the Parsi. The soul is the main thing. And by soul I mean this soul, nothing else. So don't look anywhere else. So the big bond between the dogs and the Parsis can't be broken. But one great man, a magistrate of British descent, well, he in 1832 came up with an edict saying all stray dogs in Mumbai must be killed. This mad, evil Annari, man with no akal, as we say in Gujarati, well, he decided to do this. So the Parsis took to the street with knives and swords and spoons and plates and whatever they could find, and they fought the police. Yes, they fought the police. The first ever recorded riot. You can check it. Google it. Do what you want. 1832, the dog riot. That's its official name. So remember, be very careful. Don't touch the dogs. Don't be rude to them. Don't be mean to them. Because I will take to the streets and I will use these pens to teach you a lesson. Alright.
The second riot to break out in Bombay again involved the Parsis, but this time against the Muslim community. Both were trying very hard to carve a niche for themselves, and things took a turn for the worse when religious sentiments were hurt on both sides. Apparently, the Parsis were a few centuries ahead of Charlie Hebdo, and they drew an image of Prophet Muhammad in a bad light. The Muslims retaliated by attacking a fire temple while it was being used by families. As hard as it is to believe today, the Parsis retaliated with violence, and ultimately, the British had to step in and broker peace. It was around then that the British wanted to do business with the Chinese for the top two commodities of that time. They wanted some tough men who could deal with the likes of pirates and drug dealers. And that is how the Parsis came in favor with the Goras. Ultimately, they were rich enough to buy their own ships and send their children to English schools. A knowledge of English, language and etiquette, it was a rare commodity for that time, and it sealed the fate of the Parsis as a prosperous, gentrified lot in India.
The Parsi connection with China is visible even today in our beautiful saris called Garas. The finest Garas were hand embroidered hundreds of years ago by Chinese artisans. And the work on these is so exquisite, guys, that an original can sell easily for over a couple of lakhs. So if you have one of these beautiful heirlooms in your family, consider yourself lucky.
Now here's a fun side note. The creme de la creme of Garas, like this one, will even have the signature of the artisan who sat and made it. And here's another fun fact. The first, and as far as my research goes, the only Indian serial killer in England was a Bawa. His name was Bucks Ruxton, and even today, Madame Tussauds has a statue of his.
With this ends our history lesson on Parsis in India, and now let me take you to the history of Parsis in Persia, modern Iran. Roughly around 3,500 years ago, the Persian Empire was one of the biggest globally, and if you have seen the movie 300, then the Emperor Zerxes is part of that same dynasty. Now at that time, they prayed to gods similar to the Vedic culture of India. The sun, the wind, rivers and trees were worshipped through different names until a young priest called Zarathustra, which is a Greek name, or Zoroaster, which is a Farsi name, came up with a new concept of dualism. Now he said that there was a positive force that was responsible for creation and a negative force behind all destruction. The emperors liked what they saw in him, and Cyrus the Great became a follower. Because the royal household were fans, the rich and powerful courtesans also followed soon. Zoroastrianism became fashionable and spread across the empire without really needing priests and missionaries to convert people. In fact, when was the last time you heard of someone being converted into a Zoroastrian? If someone were to choose to read the texts and practice the religion, no one would stop them. But they have to do it on their own will and accord, and will not be forced by a Parsi. Now, Zoroastrian fire temples are actually mushrooming around the planet in unexpected places like Brazil and Russia. This is being done by people who have embraced the religion on their own accord. Despite being Zoroastrians, they will not be Parsis, as that title is reserved only for the original Iranians and their successors. Till today, Parsis have held on to this, and that's why their numbers are small.
All three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, have their roots in Zarathustra's ideas. He was the first one to come up with the monotheistic God and the anti-God, much like God and Satan or Allah and Shaitan. He also came up with the concept of heaven and hell and a day of judgment. Zarathustra asked his priests to work with and use the four elements in their prayers to the one supreme God. His priests were called Magi. And guess what? It is from this Greek word denoting them that words like magic and magician come. We all know of the biblical story of the three wise men visiting Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus in the manger. They were Zoroastrian priests, also known as Magi. Anyone who is interested in modern day ceremonial magic, whether it is Aleister Crowley's Thelema or the Golden Dawn school of thought, have to learn the basic tenets of Zoroastrianism. People who have witnessed Hindu prayer ceremonies spot a similarity between them and the way Zoroastrians pray. Water, fire, flowers, and thread are common in both rituals. Just the way a Brahmin wears the sacred thread around his chest is somewhat similar to the way a Parsi ties the sacred thread around his waist. The intrinsic reasons are the same. I bet you do not know that Parsi prayers have words like Lakshmi and Vidya in them, and they denote well-being and wisdom just like Vedic prayers. In fact, our temples are called fire temples not because we worship fire, but because we use fire as an expression to symbolize divine energy, just like an Agni Puja.
Considering our connection to India, our numbers in the country are actually going down. On the other hand, our numbers of the community are increasing in countries like Australia, America, Canada, and Singapore. As of today, the most sizable population of Parsis in the city is in Bombay, and even today, the most amount of land in Bombay is owned by Parsis. Be it Godrej and Boys, or the Behram Jijibai Group, or the Zerxes Wadia Trust, or the F.E. Dinshaw Trust, or Hirjibai Dinshaw the Memoria, or Jijibai Adarsh. So I'm hoping after this, if someone mentions a Parsi to you, you will have a lot more information about us than you had before. We are not a very loud community, and hence our festivals and religious celebrations are designed keeping in mind not to disturb anyone else. You will not see us showing off expensive brand names or showing off our diamonds and gold and jewelry, but you will see us trying to make Bombay and India a safer and better place to live in. We have big hearts and even more delicious food. So if you know a Bawa, feel free to ask them to call you for dinner. And just like the Patiala peg, we have the Parsi peg, which is a 3-finger size and a large whiskey glass. So there's that. Don't say I didn't warn you.
A big shout out to Zing 2.0 for partnering with me to make this video. My name is Freesia.
This is Nauheed Cyrusi.
My name is Cyrus.
I'm Scherezade Shroff.
Hi guys, my name is Cyrus Sahukar.
Hi, this is Shreyas Pardiwalla.
My name is Zerxes, this is Wadia.
And I'll catch you again very soon. Ciao.
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 If you like this video, hit the bell icon and subscribe.